Hey friends, welcome back to She's At It Again. I'm getting my olive oil in my pan and heating it up because we are going to make a soup that goes together so quick, and honest to goodness, this has to be one of my favorite. It is gluten-free. It is vegetarian. No, I take that back. It's not. You can use vegetable broth. I use chicken broth in this, so not completely vegetarian. But this is some of the very best soup. And I serve it with grown-up grilled cheese sandwiches, and we will link the video to that as well. I thought I had this video in there because it's absolutely one of the ones that I go to when I know somebody's coming over and I have to get something done really quick. And it goes together so quickly, but everybody just loves it. It does not look like something that you'd go, wow, that has tons of flavor, but I'm telling you, it has tons of flavor. It is so absolutely delightful. Now, we had guests over one time, and I told them I was serving grilled cheese sandwiches and a tomato soup for lunch. Well, she is a consumer science teacher at a university, or she was before she retired, and she said, when she sat down at the table after we got finished with the meal, she said, honestly, when you told us what we were having, I just thought, I'll eat a grilled cheese and I'll enjoy the fellowship, but I'm not really that big on tomato soup. I'm just not a fan of it. She said, this was some of the best tomato soup I've ever had in my life. This is not what I was expecting. So I'm hoping you think the same thing once you try this. Now, this does not make a huge batch of it, but it's easy to double it, triple it, whatever, and trust me, you will want to, because you'll want to save some, put it in the refrigerator for leftovers. You'll want this later. So we're going to get started. I have 5 tablespoons of olive oil. Now, you saw how I was pouring that in there, just, kind of glug, 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 but that's my 5 tablespoons. But everything I have pretty much is either already chopped up or in the freezer, so it's easy to come together, and again, it's quick. So again, I get organic whole mushrooms, fresh mushrooms, when they're marked down at the supermarket before they ever expire. I come home, I brush them off with a dry, clean toothbrush used just for mushrooms, and it's got super soft bristles, so I get all the dust off, and then I slice them up so they're not chopped up. If you want these chopped up finer, then that's completely fine. I have a friend that says my kids won't eat that if it's big chunks, and they're adult kids, but some people just don't like the texture of them. I love the sliced mushrooms. I'd put a whole mushroom in there if it were me, but if you want them sliced up or chopped up finer, then that's totally fine. It's not going to change the flavor of this, obviously. All right, I have my oil heating up, but it's not completely hot yet, but I just want to show you how fast this goes together. So we have 8 ounces of fresh mushrooms that were sliced. I have a ½ cup of finely chopped, this is, I think, just a yellow onion. It's an organic yellow onion. I chopped it up the other day and put it in this little bag and stuck it in my refrigerator, but the next time I went to open the refrigerator, I was like, whoa, ooh, that smells like an onion, and I do not want everything else in my refrigerator tasting like an onion. So we'll just put that in the freezer. It's just going to keep just fine in there. And this was perfect because that's what I needed it for, and there's about a ½ cup in there. And by the way, this soup is called mushroom tomato bisque. I guess if I'd have dumped this out when it was completely frozen instead of thawing it out just a bit, it would come out of the bag easier, but that's okay. The next thing we want in this is about a ½ teaspoon of salt. Sometimes my burner heats up so slowly, I think, did I even turn it on? But I can feel the heat coming from it. ½ teaspoon of salt, and then a 1.5 pound can of fresh chopped tomato or fresh chopped tomatoes. Now you can use fresh chopped tomatoes. I've done that before. I've gotten them out of the garden, but in the summertime that's easy to do. In the wintertime, not so much. And right now it is wintertime. So this is my favorite. This is actually better than going to the garden and getting a fresh tomato. Fire roasted tomatoes. That's just the way to go. This, these are diced, but you can get the crushed ones, you can get the whole ones, just whatever pleases you. I just grab the first thing on the shelf, but I buy a lot of these at a time when they go on sale at natural grocers. Now this is let's see, this is a 28-ounce can, so a little over 1.5 pounds, anywhere from 1.5 pounds to 1 3/4 pounds. I'm going to let these mushrooms and onions heat up a bit before I add it to it. Them being frozen is taking longer than this soup actually takes to throw together, so we'll just speed the video up so you don't have to just stand there and watch the mushrooms cook. Okay, I think our soup is hot enough to finally start pouring the other ingredients in. That never takes that long. Of course, you know, I'm walking around the house, looking outside, watching it rain, and just waiting for this to heat up. Normally, pan's hot, you start throwing things in, it is done. But, you know, turn the cameras on and that's what's gonna happen. All right, the next thing we're gonna add is our can of diced tomatoes. I deliberately put this in this clear saucepan so it wouldn't have such a reflection on there because I have such a time with these bright lights above it. Hopefully it will all fit in there. I think I've made it in this before, but I could be wrong about that. I just can't remember. All right, next thing is a teaspoon of minced garlic. Next ingredient is a 1/2 teaspoon of dried basil. I love the dried basil we grow in our flower pots just because it comes in the whole leaves, and I just pick the woody stem off of it and then just crumble it up in there. But I love the smell of it. I don't even think I knew what basil smelled like as a kid. I don't ever remember having anything with basil in it. That's just one of the spices we probably didn't own. We had lots of sage, I know that, because you know, dressing, dumplings, stuff like that. You live in the South, you are not without sage. But basil, nope. That's what they had in another country, I think, is probably what we were told. 1/2 teaspoon of dried oregano. About 1/2 teaspoon of fresh ground pepper. Half cup of tomato paste, and this is a little more than 1/2 cup. This is 6 ounces, and I only need 4 ounces. So I'm going to get all of it out except for a small part in the bottom. and I'll just use that for something else, probably later on this week. You know what? I don't think all my soup's gonna fit in this. I may have to turn around and put this in this shiny pot. Ugh. I was so hoping I wouldn't have to do that, but you know what? Live and learn. I know that's obviously a lot bigger than this one. So let's just do a switcheroo right here. I know I've made it in this pot, but I was hoping I wouldn't have to use the shiny pot. Oh well, I'm just grateful I had another one. All right, kind of stir that tomato paste up. The tomato paste is going to thicken it. It doesn't have a roux, so it doesn't have gluten in it, doesn't have flour or anything like that, but the thickening comes from the tomato paste because all the moisture has been taken out of the tomato and you're left with that bulk of paste. That's going to add the thickness to the rest of it. Our next ingredient is chicken broth. This is just homemade bone broth and it smells so good. I opened up the lid just to see if there was any ice on the top of it because I store it outside in my garage refrigerator, but the smell is just absolutely delightful. Okay, I think I said 1 1/4 cups. Yes, 1 1/4 cups. Give that a stir. Next ingredient is 3/4 of a cup of heavy cream. If we add it right after the broth, it won't curdle because it's cooled off that liquid in there. I just wish you could smell it. It is just absolutely so delicious smelling. It's let's see what time it is right now. It's 9:30. I've just finished with breakfast right before I started this video. Well, about an hour before I started the video. I'm not hungry, but this smells so good. Last ingredient, just a couple of tablespoons of freshly grated Parmesan. This is Parmesan Reggiano. Great flavor. And it's going to add that saltiness to it that we all like in tomato soup. Okay, I have 2 minutes before I take my loaf of sourdough out of the oven, and this is done. We won't have this until tomorrow. We'll have guests over for lunch, and we'll have that then with our grown-up grilled cheese sandwiches on freshly made sourdough. And that is going to be so good. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. The recipe is in the description. As always, give this a try. If it's a rainy day like it is here, this is our last rainy day out of a series of rainy days. I'm done with it. I need some sunshine. But this soup is going to make up for it. It's going to be a sunny day tomorrow, and we're going to enjoy this. So we look forward to sharing something again with you next time. Look up that recipe, give it a try. Thanks, guys. Bye.